Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hope Dealer broadcast with Dr. Brian Hooten here in Dallas, Texas. And, we were recently voted the best new healthcare podcast of all time in the entire universe. So pay close attention to what I'm going to say. If you are dealing with joint pain of any kind, maybe it's osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, maybe you've had back pain and neck pain, herniated discs, even stenosis, this podcast is for you. And I'm going to talk specifically today about a patient, unfortunately, sort of a common story around our office where she came in and she had been diagnosed. She'd been treated with drugs like Humira, other anti-inflammatories, other high-powered prescription medications that only covered up her problem. And Allison was getting desperate. And we met her late in the game. She was in her 50s, which isn't old, but she had been dealing with some of this stuff for years. So if you're sitting around and you've got neck pain and maybe you're in your 20s, maybe you're starting to feel the effects of aging earlier than you think you should, this is for you. And I know I'm talking to, just based on the percentages that I've seen, 7 out of 10 of you, 70% of anybody that hears this is dealing with some kind of chronic pain. And unfortunately, you're told, like if you go to Dr. Google, if you go to your healthcare practitioner, every single person is telling you to treat the symptom with some type of remedy, whether it's a prescription, over the counter, or even a natural remedy. And that is the mindset you have to get out of. So I want to start right there. Think about what your life is right now, where your health is. If you just treat the symptom and you don't actually change your life, what does tomorrow look like? Are you going to be better or worse? What about 5 years from now? Maybe 30 years from now? And that's what bit Allison, like so many people, that's what bites you in the butt because you just nobody's telling you how to take care of yourself properly. So I'm going to share with you the number one thing physically that you need to be doing. But the first thing is your mindset. You have to think proactively. You have to switch gears from thinking, treat the symptom, get out of that pain, to getting your body strong where you fix yourself. And that is where the real hope comes in. God did not make us to fall apart. The geneticists have proven that. Did you know that even the geneticists, there's a field called epigenetics that have proven that our choices are determining how our genes express themselves. Let me say that again. Our choices determine how our genes express themselves. I'm 52. I should have high blood pressure. I should have heart disease. I should have obesity going on and diabetes. I don't have any of that. In fact, I seem to have stopped the hair loss craze that plagued all the men in my family because I still got it all based on our behavior. And I learned this a long time ago. I was 13 years old when we were introduced into this lifestyle chiropractic care where you focus on the body, get it strong, because I was a real sick kid. Allison came in her 50s, like I said, and she had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis and 5 other autoimmune diseases. So things like lupus and scleroderma, ulcerative colitis, these all fall into the category of autoimmune diseases. And when I was a kid, they tried to label me with something like that too. And what the doctors don't understand is what I've already told you. Your choices determine how your genes express themselves. Your outcomes are based on your behavior, period. Now, is there some genetic connection with our family? Yes, but very little. You can change it all. And you've known people like that. You've known people whose parents died of heart disease and cancer, yet they lived to be 100. My grandpa made it up to 98, but his parents died in their early 70s. So where's that genetic connection? So you can change your future, but you have to get into the right mindset and then get the right information. So Allison already had a neck surgery. She had stenosis in her spine, in her neck. She had herniated discs. She had chronic pain that was not going away even after all this surgery and all this medication because all they were doing to her was band-aiding the problem. And nobody had told her, not one of those specialists, not one doctor, not one neurosurgeon, not one orthopedic doctor had told her to get into a proper type of chiropractor to get her body right. And that's what we are. Very rare. We're in rarefied earth here. Out of 1,000 chiropractors, one of us practices the way that we do. And I know a handful around the North Texas area. We all know each other because we are different. You have to be different. If you want a better outcome for your life, if you want to quit hurting, quit the circus of medications and doctors, you have to behave differently. We'll show you how to do that. You can find us in North Dallas, drhooten.com. If you don't even live here, if you're not anywhere in the Texas area, just reach out to us. We'll help you find somebody. That's the first step, is your mindset. Now, the biggest thing, the number one most important thing physically, is your spinal flow. And I'll refer to that term a lot. Think about it this way. Let's say that you have herniated discs or bone spurs or stenosis, or you've been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. Your brain is up here trying to fix that. It's always trying to fix it. This is how we're made. God designed us with a power plant up here that is organizing and running everything in your body, from the way you heal, inflammation, hormones, you name it. Your brain is not up there telling your body to get pain, to get scoliosis, to get herniated discs, to get stenosis, all these different things. Your brain is up there trying to sort things out, and it starts that way before we're born. Do you know when we're born, the 9 months before we're born, the very first thing to develop is your central nervous system. Within a couple of weeks, the sperm and an egg come together, and the first stem cells that come together and form organs, your brain and spinal cord, are first. It's not your heart, it's not your lungs, it's not your blood, it's your brain and spinal cord. Now, once the brain and spinal cord develops, which takes about 2 weeks to really begin, then the fetus, the baby's nervous system, begins communicating. How cool is this? Begins communicating with the host, with mom. Now things are starting to work and other cells come together, and the baby's nervous system is programming and telling these other cells to come together to make a heart, to make your lungs, to make your digestive system, your immune system. So your brain and spinal cord are first. No matter what anybody tells you, your heart is important, your lungs are important, all those things, your hormones, your thyroid, all important, but your brain is everything. You can't even digest food without it. So look at it this way. Here's a good analogy, and when you come in, I'll really explain this and give you ownership of it. Look at your body. So if you're hurting somewhere, put that pain, right, the disc or whatever the case is, in your garden. So pretend your whole body's a garden. You got your heart in there, your lungs, and some of you probably have a garden. Maybe you like roses, like orange trees, coconut palms, whatever. You have this perfect garden that God gave us, designed to need exactly the right amount of water delivered every single day. And that's an analogy for your brain and your body. So in our garden, obviously, if you shut the water off, what happens to your whole body? What happens to the whole garden? It dies pretty quick. Well, imagine the hose carrying the water to the garden is now kinked. So let's say 5 or 10% of the water is not getting through to your garden. What happens to your garden that way? Does it die immediately? Probably not. But what would happen to some of the flowers and some of the leaves on the stems? They would begin to wither, right? So now your body's starting to hurt. Your garden is starting to hurt. And you're told from the day we're born to rush off to the doctor, to talk to your doctor, call your doctor, talk to your doctor, as if they have authority over your body, which they don't. You cannot give authority over your biggest precious gift to another human being, especially one that's only going to medicate you. So you run off to the doctor. And I want to tell you something. If you're out there, and hopefully I've got your attention, I looked this up this morning. 8 years ago, the number one selling drug was something called Humira. You've probably heard of this. It's all over the TV. It is a drug that stops part of your garden or your immune system from working so you don't hurt. Imagine that. You don't hurt. Thanks God, right? But the way you've done it is you've stopped your immune system. So guess what the side effect is? Lymphoma and other cancers. And if you've heard that on the TV, it says it right there. Lymphoma and other cancers have occurred because of Humira. You're taking a drug. This is the number one selling drug 8 years ago. Today, it's number 2. You're taking a drug, or somebody that's probably taking this thing, that is quite literally killing another part of their body. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and the doctors have no idea how to actually get you healthy. They tell you it's genetic. It's a bunch of garbage. They're lying through their teeth because they don't know. They're not taught how to do this. They're not taught proper health habits in school. They're taught in school to treat symptoms. They're taught in school to give you medicine. And then when they graduate, they're now paid to treat your symptom and paid to give you medication. They're not going to know how to get you healthy. Maybe one in a great many number of doctors have gone off the reservation and started to try to be healthy. And there are a few out there, but even they aren't treating your spine or your water hose. So this drug now, Humira, I couldn't believe what I looked at. So 8 years ago, it was making just under $1 billion a year. It was like 980 million. In 2022, this drug made 21.24 billion with a B. The number one drug, of course, was a COVID vaccine, which we know is causing all these blood clots. And so now 3 or 4 of the other top 10 selling drugs are for thinning of the blood because of all this vaccine damage. It is a nightmare. It is a bad circus that you have to get out of. In order to do that, and you can change your food all you want, we can help you do that, but you have to get your hose or your spinal cord flowing. Once you do that, everything begins to change, because remember, your brain is in charge. And going back to Allison, that's what I told her. I showed her where the problems were on her spine with specific x-rays. Now, she'd already had a neck surgery, so she goes, are your treatments going to hurt the neck surgery? And I said, no. When you have a neck surgery, that's just a Band-Aid. Everything around that surgery begins to deteriorate. What I will do is get your spine flowing through there, stop the deterioration, actually more appropriately, help your body stop the deterioration, stop the degeneration, and let your brain get to your garden. And guess what happens? Now, if when you come to the office, you'll see Allison's picture all over the place. She's on the TV along with people that had seizures, along with babies that were constipated, and people that had cancer that got well. Remember, I'm not treating the disease. I'm treating the body so that that person can fix themselves. Allison was real far down the road. She's late 50s, double level neck surgery for herniated discs and stenosis, all the things that come with the spinal degeneration, osteoarthritis, and diagnosed with rheumatoid and 5 other diseases. She was real far down this road. Her garden was sick. All I focused on was getting the hose unkinked, if you will, lessening what we call subluxation. That's our term for the kink in the spine that's slowly killing your body and killing your garden. Well, it's stopping the flow of life, right, to your garden. We're undoing that pressure and getting her spine strong again so things can flow through there. And guess what happened to those 6 diagnoses that she had? The rheumatoid is gone. The doctors will say remission. We say healing. But she's healing herself. I want to be real clear on that. The bad guys and the bad chiropractors, the bad medical people, they all the time are accusing me of claiming to heal people. No. I'm not healing anybody. That is God's job, and specifically the power that he put in you from the time you were born. Before that, sperm and egg, that's the power of God. It's still in there. You may be desperate. You may feel like you have no hope. If you're listening to me, your brain is still working. It's trying to fix you. Now, in Allison's case, she's off all her medication. Her level of pain has gone from a 10 to a 0.5, maybe a 1. There's some lingering stuff happening with her jaw. I work on that. It goes away. It settled down. She's now stopped the progression of this disease off all that medication and looking forward to her 60s, looking forward to her 70s, being healthy and strong with her family. If that's what you want, if you want to turn your life around, you have to behave differently. You have to get into an office like ours and start taking care of your spine. And sadly, calling just any chiropractor, looking them up on Google, that is not going to do it. You need to get to one that specializes in spinal correction, where they have a plan for you. In other words, if you just go when you're hurt and then you don't go again, that's not really getting you healthy. That's a symptom treatment. And yes, some people come in, they're hurting, they get an adjustment, and they feel better immediately. But in order to get the garden properly healing and properly strong, you have to get that hose flowing and then keep it that way. Look, this has worked for over 120 years since the first chiropractors began doing this. It worked for me at 13. It saved my life. I had this incurable disease. I was getting pneumonia all the time. I was in and out of the hospital. My parents would tease me because I was in the hospital 20 times before I was 2. So whenever I gave them a hard time growing up, they would say, do you know how hard it was taking care of you for your 2 years old? I mean, my family has been there. It's a disaster when you're sick and when you're hurting. And not one doctor looked at the health of my spine until at 13, I was on the soccer field and my body went into spasm, which I found out later was my kidney failing. My body went into spasm, and instead of going to the kidney doctor, we went to the chiropractor, and she looked at my spine. She pointed out where the subluxations are, where the kinks in my hose are. started working on them, and my lungs healed up, my kidney healed up. I have not been on an asthma medication since I was 13. I have not had pneumonia since I was 13. Haven't had all those steroids since I was 13. Haven't had that inhaler since I was 13. It all went away because the chiropractor, the specific special kind, explained how the body works. And I've been taking care of my spine ever since. And I'm 52, drug-free, fit. Everything works. All my hormones work. If you want your body to be strong, my immune system kicked into high gear. People breathe on me all day. During this pandemic that we had people coming in here, no mask, testing positive, right in my face. How come I didn't get sick? It would be great. This is a farce. This is not going to happen. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we spent all of our time and resources studying people that didn't get sick, instead of they're studying the people that get sick and die? That's all you saw on the news, this death counter. We want to get that out of your brain, out of your life, give you authority over your most precious gift. And you've got to start with your spine. So look us up. You can find us. Like I said, it's easy, drhooten.com. We're in the North Texas area. Just plug in Hooten. You'll probably see us. There's a bunch of reviews on there. I've also got a bunch of haters, so if you just want to go look for that. But 23 years, I've been doing this. Everybody gets well if they follow what we say. Once in a great while, somebody will come in and it's too late. If that's the case, I'll tell you. But at least we can get you somewhat better from wherever you are. Look us up. We'll talk to you next time.